All right, let's get right into it. Think about your biggest goals for the next couple of years. Now, usually the advice you hear is all about starting new things, right? A new diet, a new workout routine, some new productivity hack. But today, we're going to flip that whole idea on its head. We're going to explore how the real secret to hitting your 2026 goals might not be about what you start doing, but actually what you stop doing.
So, just take a second here and really think about it. What is that one huge thing you want to nail by 2026? Is it finishing that degree? Getting a business off the ground? Finally mastering an instrument? Maybe running a marathon? Whatever it is, get that picture really clear in your mind, because everything we talk about next is designed to get you there.
I think we all know this feeling. We're constantly told to hustle more, add more habits, stack more tasks onto our schedules that are already overflowing. But what if that's the very thing that's holding you back? What if the real path to success is about clearing things away, not just piling more on top?
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to pinpoint the trap we all fall into. Then, I'll show you a really powerful solution. We'll get super specific with habits you need to drop, and we'll break them into two main categories. And then at the end, we're going to build a personal action plan you can literally start using today.
Okay, let's start by putting a name to this problem. It's a trap that feels super productive on the surface, but in reality, it's a massive roadblock to any kind of long-term success.
So most of us, without even realizing it, operate under this thing called the addition fallacy. It's that little voice in your head that says, to get better, I have to add something. A new app, another book, a more complicated morning routine. But this kind of thinking completely ignores the incredible power of subtraction. And what happens when we're just constantly adding more? Does any of this sound familiar? You feel totally overwhelmed because your to-do list is a mile long. Your progress slows down or just stalls completely because your energy is spread way too thin. And then, inevitably, you burn out. You get frustrated and you just give up. It's a vicious cycle. And listen, it's not your fault. It's the system that's broken.
So if adding more is the problem, what's the solution? Well, it's a really powerful mental model used by some of the clearest thinkers out there. It's called inversion.
This right here is the fundamental shift in your thinking. Instead of always asking, what do I need to start doing? You flip it and ask, what do I need to stop doing? You see, you stop focusing on adding more tasks and you start focusing on removing the obstacles that are already in your way. And the result? You go from complexity and chaos to pure clarity and focus.
So, just to be super clear, the inversion technique is really just about defining what failure looks like. You identify the behaviors that guarantee you won't reach your goal, and then you systematically avoid them. It's all about clearing the path so you can move forward instead of just trying to run faster on a track that's covered in junk.
Okay, let's get really practical now. The first group of habits we have to get rid of are the ones that steal our most valuable, most precious resource, our focus.
And here's our first target, and oh man, it's a big one. Doom scrolling. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Mindlessly swiping through those endless feeds of bad news, social media drama, or just completely random content.
So why is this so damaging? Well, for starters, it absolutely demolishes your ability to concentrate on any one thing for a meaningful amount of time. It also pumps your brain full of anxiety and negativity, which is just poison for your motivation. And, maybe most importantly, it just eats up hours of your life that you will never, ever get back.
This flows right into our second habit, which is basically doom scrolling's close cousin, reacting instantly to every single buzz, ping, and pop-up on your screen.
Think about it. Every single time you react to a notification, you are letting someone else's priorities completely hijack your own. You're stopping what's important to you to deal with what's important to them. This makes deep, focused work, the kind you need for big goals, nearly impossible. You're basically training your brain to need and to crave constant distraction.
All right, so we've tackled the focus killers. Now let's move on to those habits that make us feel productive, but are actually just incredibly inefficient ways of working.
This one is so critical, especially if your 2026 goal involves learning a new skill. We have to quit passive studying. This means no more just rereading your notes over and over, highlighting half a textbook, or watching tutorial videos without actually doing anything.
The reason this is so sneaky is because passive studying feels like you're working hard, but all it does is create an illusion of learning. You start to feel familiar with the material, but you haven't actually learned it. The information goes in one ear and right out the other. And then, when it's time to actually apply that knowledge in the real world, you got nothing.
And here it is, the great productivity myth of our generation. Multitasking. Trying to write an important email while you're on a conference call while also thinking about dinner. It has to stop.
Your brain just isn't built for it. What you're really doing is something called task switching, and it is incredibly inefficient. Every time you switch, you lose focus, you lose momentum, the quality of your work plummets, you make way more mistakes, and you completely drain your mental battery way faster than if you just focused on one single thing at a time.
And our final habit is less about a specific action and more about a default mindset. That automatic reflex to say yes to every request, every opportunity, and every invitation that comes your way.
Here's the hard truth. Every time you say yes to something that isn't your main goal, you are implicitly saying no to the one thing that truly matters most. The result is you end up overcommitted. Your focus is scattered all over the place, and you do a mediocre job on 10 different things instead of doing an excellent job on the one thing that's actually going to move the needle for you by 2026.
So, we've identified the big problem, we've looked at 5 really powerful examples of things to stop doing. Now for the most important part. How do you actually apply this to your life? Well, it all starts with creating something called a not-to-do list. Here's a super simple 3-step plan. First, go back to that goal we talked about at the very beginning. Get it crystal clear. Second, you have to be brutally honest with yourself. What daily or weekly habits are actively sabotaging your progress? And third, create your list. But don't make it a long one. Just pick 3 to 5 things that you are committing to eliminate.
And that brings us to the final and honestly the most important question of all. Don't try to quit everything at once. That's a recipe for failure. Instead, look at your list of saboteurs and ask yourself this. What is the number one roadblock? That one single habit that if you removed it would make the biggest positive impact on your journey to 2026. Find that one thing and start there.